Okay, so welcome everyone. Excited to have Lou Augier back on the show. Lou is a former U.S. Navy nuclear engineer turned into a tech leader. He's now VP of Operations at ColdLion Technologies, a software provider delivering highly configurable ERP and UMS solutions for mid-market companies. Liu has been spearheading ColdLion push to make AI practical for operations, including a new AI tool that can sit on top of any tech stack to deliver real-time insights. Liu, thank you for joining us.
I'm glad to be here.
So let's dive in. You mentioned in our preparatory call that the ERP market is incredibly saturated, and the big box players like Microsoft and SAP are losing ground to newer, more agile platforms. How has that reality shaped your strategy at ColdLion in carving out your own space with ERP and warehouse management solutions?
Well, for us at ColdLion, it meant shifting our growth strategy, to focus on not just differentiation, just meaningful differentiation. We don't reinvent the wheel, but we're filling the gaps. If I look back at the history of our company, ColdLion's growth has always been fueled by finding the opportunities those, established big box software competitors overlook. And, that starts with that strategic differentiation, but we also use operational tactics like strategic pricing and we're diversifying, like you mentioned, like besides our core ERP product, we've added some complementary products like the WMS system. And this year we'll be introducing what you mentioned earlier, the standalone AI platform that we call Clay. Also, on top of that, recently we've gotten more into marketing and brand building. And I think that's important too, especially for the newer companies competing in a saturated market. People have to know who you are.
Awesome. No, thank you for sharing that. Something else also that you have mentioned, and I recall you talking about pivoting quickly with AI as a key advantage. In fact, you told me that ColdLion is developing an AI component that can plug into any existing system so companies don't have to rip out their legacy software, which is a very bold approach. What was the moment that led you to pursue an AI overlay instead of the traditional full system replacement? And how do you envision these changing things for your mid-market customers?
Well, I guess some of the differentiation that we've done in the past has kind of led us and put us in a good position for this new AI boom. One of the things we used to offer, when we this is before I worked at ColdLion, they launched into offering back office services. So we have in-house people doing the job on the software besides just giving out software. We're having people work and do the job because some of our smaller clients didn't have the staff. And what that did is it brought an in-house group of people, experts in AR and AP and the messy world of logistics. And so we had firsthand knowledge of a deep understanding of the business. And we combined that with our software and our developers, and we started improving our system, not only just to make our back office people faster and more efficient, but also for our software only customers. And when AI hit, especially agentic AI, the trend seems to be like if besides the the usual use of AI, which is people are using for general stuff like writing or looking up some information. Agentic AI really requires a deep understanding, of whatever it is, whatever business you're adding AI to augment. And because of that differentiation in the back office, that put us in a special situation where we had in-house people and developers together. And that was the aha moment. That was like, we have a back office, we have technology, AI is available. What if we created an AI platform, that basically combined that, that deep understanding of the industry, with, the AI capabilities.
Very nice. And also something else that from our call stood out is you describe how ColdLion provided back office support services for clients, essentially doing logistics, account receivable, account payable, order management on their behalf, and then use those insights to streamline your own software. It's like you had an internal test lab built from real operations. Can you walk us through how that worked? How did offering hands-on services to clients help you refine the product, and what improvement came out of that feedback loop?
Sure. I mean, For example, like we had a company that needed our software, but they also wanted us to do the AR, the AP, and the logistics work in the software for them. And what used to take them 4 people, we were able to reduce down to 2 through finding out what our staff needed and automating more and more of the product. And like I said, that just led us with AI, that just took it to another level.
Interesting. And you also have a pretty unique personal background. Before joining ColdLion 4 years ago, you spent years on the other side as an operation leader evaluating tech solutions. And even early, you served 6 years in the US Navy. I'm curious, how have those experiences, being a buyer who invited vendors in for demos, and the discipline of nuclear engineering in high-stake situation influence the way you build products and lead the team at ColdLion?
Well, yeah, I do have a unique background, and I've heard that again and again. I will say, to the outside observer, that my Navy experience may look disconnected, but it was there that I basically found my passion for operations. It was mechanical operations in a nuclear power plant, but nonetheless operations. And after my time in the military, it was my experience in my early jobs with software that I became very interested in how software could help operations. And I started doing that in corporations, and I even had a small business on the side where I used computer software to help with small business. And I just had an affinity for it. But what happened, though, is my experience with software kind of niched me into working on systems. And so I started getting job after job with, managing systems. Some of the big box systems we mentioned, and some niched systems, and in different industries. I've worked in apparel, fashion. I've worked in food manufacturing. I've worked in the fragrance industry. But I always wanted to come back to operations. And ColdLion had approached me at a time where I was hungry to get back into operations. And although they were a technology company, they had mentioned they had started this new back office services, and they wanted me to be VP of operations to run the operations on that end of the business. And I was very excited to do that. Also, I was very excited that I'd have both, the best of both worlds. I would have the operations team, and then ColdLion itself being a technology company and using their software. I could just walk down the hall to the developers and say, look, I want to change the software, make it do this. And, within hours, it'll be done. And it was beautiful. Like being on the other side, where when you want a big box product, if you want to change something, good luck. You're putting in a ticket, you're getting a quote. Hours later, development's getting farmed out overseas somewhere. You're hoping they got it right. And it's very expensive. Yeah, this was really the home I wanted. And the newer platform they have, it's just these enhancements that I wanted, or, like I said, I would go down the hall, I ask for something. It's so fast. They can configure it so quickly. It's like almost like instant gratification. So yeah, I really love how my path has led me here.
And from your 25 plus years in operations, what common scaling bottlenecks do growing companies face in their back office or supply chain? And how can the right software or processes help overcome those challenges?
There's a lot of opportunities, a lot of underserved pain points. And this is, like, to my earlier point, this is how you attack a saturated market. You serve those underserved pain points. Let's take the AI platform. It's basically an intelligent data platform. It includes AI, natural language to create reports, to run certain processes, but it also includes BI element. It also includes canned reports. Through our understanding of the industries, we have a lot of reports that pretty much cover the need, and also a report builder for any custom operations. Right? But that alone, what is that doing? What is the pain point we're grabbing there? So one is, I'm not trying to get a customer to get rid of their ERP, which is a huge undertaking and very expensive, just to get our AI tool. So that's a pain point right there. Customers want AI, but they don't want to have to, change everything and spend a ton of money. So we offer it as a standalone product. Another pain point is, especially for the smaller, small size companies to mid cap, they might not have a business intelligence, tech person that knows how to map databases, uh, to get BI rolling, or maybe a savvy business analyst that knows how to create reports in a system. So we did the heavy lifting and set it up in our Clay platform, so they don't have to. This is what I mean by serving the pain points that the big box companies are overlooking.
And could you tell us about a notable success case where ColdLion solutions significantly transform a client business or help them scale efficiently? What lessons might other founders learn from that experience?
Well, I'll give you one example for our WMS product. We basically created a WMS for warehouses. It has the power of the ERP, but we didn't just give them an ERP with warehouse capability that they have to go through a lot of extra steps until they get to the warehouse part. We streamlined it for a warehouse. We created screens that they don't have to jump around the system. For example, if they're receiving in containers, all the steps, the things they have to print out, they can do from one screen. That's the scalability they're looking for. Speed is important. And customers don't want to have to go through a lot of steps, a lot of clicks, or they want simplicity, they want speed. Because at the end of the day, they just want the data to get into the system so they can, do stuff with it. And my advice to companies, especially the new ones on these newer platforms, avoid trying to appeal to everyone. Instead focus on a narrow, underserved group with unique needs. Refine your unique value proposition.
Excellent. I love that. And ColdLion is a medium team that has grown mostly through word of mouth until recently. Looking ahead to say the next quarter or two, what key metrics or signals will you be watching to know that you are on target with your growth plans? I'm especially interested in how you will gauge success as you roll out the new AI offerings and ramp up your sales and marketing efforts.
Yeah, that's our newest is, business development. We're a small company and we've steadily grown, but a lot of that's been through word of mouth. And we're at a point now we need to expand on that. So we're dipping our feet in the waters of marketing and brand building. What I'd like to do is, leverage storytelling. People remember stories better than tech specs. And so we need to use storytelling to share our brand's unique mission. And we need to diversify channels. People need to know who we are. So we need to reach customers where our competitors are missing. So maybe it's a marketing event or utilizing, some of the newer emerging platforms.
Nice. So we have talked about the future of software beyond market saturation. From your perspective, where do you see the biggest opportunities and risks applying AI to back-end operations like logistics and supply chains? Are companies ready to embrace AI in these messy operational areas? Or is there groundwork that needs to be laid first to make those AI implementations successful?
I think there's groundwork to be made with operations. I think when AI came out, the focus was on sales and marketing with a lot of new things. Sales and marketing is where the money is. So that's always the focus. But then beyond that, now it's into product development. It's starting to get into production, but the back office is always the last part. I mean, logistics, for example, is a big part of that. And I don't mean just the supply chain, but also, logistics to the customer. It's messy and it's always been difficult to automate messy. But now with AI can handle messy better than older technology. And so that, to me, that's the biggest opportunity right now, especially agentic AI. I think that's the future. And I think you'll see with the little ground rules and cooperation between different parties that a lot of those problems will get automated. We saw it with EDI, electronic data. That doesn't just happen. People had to have rules. They had to, agree on formats and this and that. AI is more flexible, so it won't be as rigid as EDI, but there'll still be some ground rules that, people will have to agree on. But once that's done, I think you'll see a lot of automation in operations, especially the logistics space.
No, yeah. So, thank you, Lou. That was really incredible, insightful. I appreciate the openness and the real example you share. I know our audience will take a lot away from this. So I really appreciate your time today on this important podcast. So thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.